guys. Great discussion. I'm going to ask the audience, the participants, to raise their hand. If you have we'll take just 3 questions, and then I'll allow the panelists to give us closing thoughts, 1 minute each. Right now, if there's any participant that has a question, I'm actually going to take your questions now, 2 or 3, and then we'll take closing thoughts. And one more thing, if you would like to receive information, materials, resources from the panelists, please send your chat with parenting resources on this meeting, and send us your email or drop your email address, and we will pass on the information. Also, if you would like to get notified about other events from these speakers, from the panelists, or from parenting resources, also send us your email address, and we will make sure we put you on our mailing list. Again, if somebody has a question, you can put it on the chat, or you can raise your hand. Any questions? I know some were posted earlier, but I can't go back all the way. So if you can quickly ask that question, I would ask the media people to please unmute people if you see them raise their hand, or just post your question, whichever way. We want to wrap up quickly. We have just about 10 minutes to go. Okay, while we wait for question, I have a question of my own. And that question is, I know that somebody mentioned, I don't remember who now, said upbringing, it's a case of upbringing versus cultural adaptation and peer pressure. So what is the role of parents in helping out, helping children, helping young adults to deal with peer pressure? You know, even as parents, we come under peer pressure sometimes at work. I know I do sometimes, and what I have told myself is, before I get to a situation, I already have my boundaries in place, so I know what to do when I get there. But how do you help a child or young adult to understand this? Any one of you can answer.
Yeah. Well, let me just hit a few seconds of this, and the rest of the brothers can chime in. We've lost teaching our young people, particularly if you're talking about the parents, identity development, and that doesn't start when they're 13, 12. Identity development start at a very young age. It starts really enforcing the identity, who they are, where they come from, where can they go, right? All those things play in really appreciating their identity, because by the time they hit society and the world get them, the world's going to start to tell them who they are. So before the world get them and tell them who they are, we need to, as parents at an early age, start to really help them with identifying who they are. Yes, I have kids, thousands of kids I've worked with who, they missed that boat. So it is now folks like us, folks who are passionate about these young people, that help them to try to establish and identify who they are. One of the questions I ask students all the time: where are you from? Where are you from? Where you come from? Where your family from? So they can start to explore the identity of who they are.
That is absolutely true. Go ahead, Coach Lee.
Just to add to it, I certainly concur with that. And one of my methods is often when asking them where they're from, I often ask them, who are you? And oftentimes they'll give me something vague, as in, I'm a basketball player, I'm a baseball player, I'm a rapper, I'm a whatever. But I often tell them that's not who you are. These are things that you do. So it's very important that we teach them who they are. Understanding, are you a lover? Are you a leader? Are you strong? Are you weak? Like real attributes that define your character with who you are. So those things are vitally important. And I also think that the role of a parent is to be effective at the bottom of the line. And I think that's at the end of the day, we want to be effective and we want to be productive, right? So I hear Attorney Lewis, what he's saying, he's here to be effective and productive with his kids. Whether you like it or not, whatever is being said, whatever is being told, you adapt and you roll with it, because I need you to be effective. And I'm like that as well. So I would never argue or debate a point about understanding what we're thrown and let's make sure we are being productive. I would never argue that, Attorney Lewis. But oftentimes we're not making sure, we're not setting the ground rules. And so being effective, when I say being effective, I think it's very important that we be relative to our kids. All right. We have to evolve. We can be stern on our belief system and our morals and our values and our integrity. But I think it's very important that we're relative and that we understand our kids and our kids understand us. That's very important to me. So I say, make sure that we don't sacrifice our fundamental principles, our integrity, but let's make sure we're relative to what their experiences are.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Prof.
I was just going to say, it looks like we have our first question in, and it's for Attorney Lewis. What would you do differently with your clients from now on as a result of the discussion today, if any, and if so, what? And that was a question from the audience.
What would I do different? Oftentimes what happens, it takes me a little while to process information. So sometimes what happens is I'll have a trial, and in between that trial and the next trial, I'll still be processing that first cross-examination, that third cross-examination. I've learned, Coach D may have already known it. I mean, I've just only learned this. So he would say, where have you failed as a parent? It would probably be in the area of peer pressure, because I had a type of father where my father said, go left, and I went left. Like, it was like, he knows more than me. He's raising me. Why would I do anything other than what he's saying? My firstborn put me on notice. You don't know much, because I was like, don't go right. Like, you can stand still, go left, go backwards. And he was like, I'm going right. Really, dude? You going right? So I've had to learn with my oldest to just give him space to actually do some things to mess up. Because for me, it's like a waste of time to burn your hand, and then we got to go to the hospital. But I've learned, for some boys, it may be better for them to burn their hand and then take them to the hospital, because it's a constant battle for the next 3 days fighting not to let them get to the stove. So with my oldest, he's really taught me I have to give him space. So I think in regards to him, I would do some things different. If I was 3 years ago, I think I would ultimately do some things different. I think I probably would have gave him a little bit more space then. But I'm giving him the space ultimately that he needs now. I think Coach D probably has an awareness of that. In terms of what I've learned here today, um, um, I've learned a lot from all of the participants. I have to process what I was told. Then I have to figure out, after I process what I was told, can I fit it into what I do? I can't be Professor Rapping. Like, I'm not even built that way. Like, okay, you need 150 hours of my time. Okay, I need to give you to somebody else, because I can't give you 150 hours, because that's like 3 trials for somebody else, like that wants to go to trial and has some understanding. Like, I got a marketing degree, I got a psychology degree, I got a philosophy degree, I got a law degree, but I don't have a social work degree. And so I'm not really built that way. I'm built to listen. I'm built to do what it is that you say you want me to do, even if you may not want me to do that or don't understand the ramifications of what you're asking me to do. I'm built to advise you, but I'm not built to, like, we're 25 hours of what? What are we talking about? You say you didn't do it. Like, what else are we talking about? Sir, you were running 105. I didn't do it. I don't need to see my lawyer for 25 hours to talk about that. That's just not what I need. And so I sometimes superimpose, as Dr. Bobby Gray said, I sometimes superimpose the type of person I am onto my client, and then I form a boundary. At 25 hours, I'm going to start to get a little antsy about continuing to come out here and talk to you, when, as Professor Rapping has already told you, somebody else got an 800-person caseload. Like, they're not even getting an hour. You've got 25, and you still got questions about what you got questions about. We just have to go to trial, and that's the beauty with trial. That's why I love trial. So I have to still process what I was told. It'll take me about 3 days. I learned a lot today.
Thank you. Josh, do you have the next question?
It looks, I don't see another question.
Okay.
It looks like that was the only one.
Okay, I see 2 questions here. Hold on.
Okay.
From Ngozi, it says, thank you. This was a great discussion. Are there any specific actions we can take as participants to help drive this whole issue in a positive direction? So any thoughts there?
I think Professor Rapping wanted to say something.
Go ahead, Prof.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot, huh, Mr. Lewis?
I knew you wanted to say something from the prior, so I want you to tie it in because I wanted to hear what you wanted to say.
Like you, Mr. Lewis, I'm still processing. I'm 2 questions behind you all. So this question is, what can people specifically do, right? I think it's quite simple, is be conscious, right? Be conscious. I think it is just so easy in this society to become numb to things that happen every day. We come to accept injustice and inequality every day, and then we see it on TV and we're numb and we don't even think there's anything wrong with it. I would just say, be conscious. When you have friends and people you associate with who seem a little unconscious, approach them in a way that they can take it, right? Don't be preachy, because no one accepts when you're talking at them, but be someone who helps open eyes as best you can. And it starts with you being conscious.
Can I add that everybody plays a different role? I mean, I love the Professor Rappings because he's going to attack the institution. He's going to attack them. I'm going to deal with the person. There's always somebody on the team that's screaming at the ump. That's not a strike. That's not a strike. That's not my role. I don't care what the ump is calling. I need to walk you through how you need to face this pitcher. Everybody plays a different role in the process, and you have to appreciate everybody's role. I can't be the guy yelling at the ump because I don't care about the ump. I care about the batter. All I care about is no matter what he throws, the pitcher's got to let it go. And when he lets it go, I'm going to tear the cover off of it. Everybody plays a little bit different role.
No, that's a great point in the sense that Dr. King talks about the beloved community. I think every family, every parent, every individual have to have a beloved community surrounding them. We cannot do this alone. Our young people cannot do this alone. So wherever you are, wherever space you're in, try to connect with that beloved community in this village. It could be your church, it could be the school, it could be your neighbors. Start to build that community, because when things are starting to fall apart, when the burden and the stress of parenting start to creep up on us, our children, I've experienced it with my children. That's why I have Coach D. Coach D is in my beloved community. He probably have more real conversation with my son than I do. So we have to tap into that beloved community, those people that are in our circles. If you don't know, go look for them. Go look for people. All right. There's so many folks out there that's willing to. Just have to do the due diligence to go find them.
So I like to add to that, especially really all 3, but Mr. Professor Rapping said conscious. So Bobby knows that I often use the 3 C's. When we're talking about what can we do, being conscious is the first step, right? That's number 1. Being collective is the other C. And the third C is going to be being consistent. And so to kind of tie into what Mr. Attorney Lewis and Bobby Guay just said, so we can be conscious, all right? And we can also understand that everyone plays a particular position. Everyone has their own role, as Attorney Lewis was just speaking of. And then also what Bobby just spoke about as far as finding people, I would challenge us to say that we can be consistent right now. That would be the third C. So we're already conscious enough because we're here. Everybody's present to talk about what's going on. Okay, so we can be collective because it's enough people here to talk about not only the problems, but also to start identifying some solutions, because everyone plays a particular position and a particular role to be effective in their own regard, right? And the third thing is, let's be consistent with doing so. So if we can be consistent, not make this a once over, let's not make this an idle and isolated time that we get together. We should be more consistently getting together on things so we can advocate for changes and even continue to empower and build on what we're already doing. And let's exercise and utilize everyone's strengths in what they do. And then with doing those things, I think one of the most important pieces in doing that is we cannot be distracted when we're conscious, when we're collective, and when we're consistent. We cannot be distracted by the differences, right? Like that's one of the biggest things. We cannot be distracted because someone else believes in a different something, a different ideology, or a different format for something else. No, the biggest thing is that we must steadfast on what we agree on. Forget what we disagree on. I only care about where we agree. I don't care that Officer Lewis may have an entirely different philosophy to something else that I don't believe, right? I do care that he cares about making sure that we are focusing on what's the problem right now, making sure we can address that. So being conscious, being collective, and being consistent.
Thank you so much. Professor Rafi? Closing thoughts? Okay, let me just say, I don't have any more questions, so I'm asking you to give us your closing thoughts and then let us know where we can get your book or how we can get your book.
Well, let me start. I'm going to start with the book. So you can go to Amazon, you can go to Barnes and Noble, you can go to Beacon, you can go to Indie Books, anywhere online that sells books. And I'd appreciate pre-orders. It's a great book. You'll love it. And the guy who wrote it is amazing. So let me give you my closing thoughts. And my closing thoughts, to close, I want to share my favorite story from the Talmud. And it's about a wise old man who went to Sodom, and he'd walk the streets day and night, preaching about hope and goodness, preaching against hatred and killing. And at first, people gathered around, they listened, they were interested, but over time, they lost interest, they'd stop paying attention, they'd even mock him behind his back. The man was undeterred. He walked the streets day and night preaching. And one day a child came to him and said, "Old man, you walk the streets day and night preaching about goodness and love and preaching against killing and thieving. And don't you see no one's listening? Don't you see no one cares?" The old man said, "I see that, child." The child said, "Then tell me, why do you persist?" The old man said, "Let me tell you, child. If at first when I came here, preaching about goodness and love and hope, I did so because I believed I could change the world. I no longer believe I can change the world today. If I continue to do those things, if I continue to preach and yell and scream, it's no longer to change the world. If I do those things today, child, it's to keep the world from changing me." So my closing thoughts is this, right? Think about the world you want to see. Go out there and don't let the world that exists change you. That alone is your role.
Thank you so very much. We are glad to have had you on this conversation. Dr. Gray, your closing.
Oh man, I gotta follow up. That brother just dropped the mic, man.
I'm glad you did it for me.
Man, that's some pressure, man. Man, well, you know what? First off, my sister, I appreciate you just galvanizing, and with the rest of the moderators, Joshua and Albert, just putting this together. It is indeed profound. I echo what Coach Z said. This cannot be a one-time thing. We have to continue to build a community and build this beloved community we're in for our kids' sake. You know, all of us up here have children. We have, if not biologically, we have community children. So if we make the decision that we're too tired, if we make the decision that we're too weary, we're doing our children an injustice. Our African ancestors suffered on the transatlantic slave trip. They suffered on the plantation. They suffered when they were captured from the motherland. Some of them grabbed the dirt and put it in their mouth because that's the only resemblance of their root that they would be able to take with them on this captivity. Some of them was on the Atlantic slave trade on that ship, jumped aboard in Atlantic Ocean. I'd rather die than to be held captive. You have to make a decision now. Do you want to be held captive in the system that you're in, or you want to make a decision to do something not for this generation? Folks, put it into perspective. Our ancestors, when they prayed, when they fought, when they rebelled, they didn't think that they would see freedom with their own eyes. They were doing it for their children's 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 children. So we have to put that in the context and realize everything I do today, it may be directly influencing my child under my home, but I'm doing it for the generation and legacy that's going to come after them. So that's our obligation as a people. Coach D mentioned the humanity that we're in. We have to regroup our minds and refocus on that humanity and that responsibility we have to maintain that humanity of life and freedom.
Thank you so much. Anthony Lewis, your closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. My children and I live in a community. We're over in Stone Mountain. It's a primarily Black community. And COVID-19 has turned out to be an unbelievable blessing. One, because I just got a chance to just pause and take a deep breath. Like Professor Rapping, I have written also a book. It's with the editor now. And that's just something that just ultimately wouldn't have happened. During COVID-19, the boys and I, because we could still go out, have been training baseball. And every time I go out, I look onto the other field, and there are always some young Black men running routes in football. Football was always really my first love. Didn't want the children to play it, but it was my first love. And football, it speaks to me at a cellular level. At a cellular level. We're going to go into the film room and we're going to study film. We're going to go out into the field and we're going to run this play over and over and over and over. And then in the game, when they hand you the ball, you can do all the improvising you want. It's unbelievable. It's the only game I know that's like that. You're supposed to go to the A gap and you jump cut and you take it out and you run around the end. That's not what we worked on. It doesn't matter what we worked on. The only thing that matters is that it works now. It doesn't matter what we saw in the film room. It doesn't matter what the refs are doing. The only thing that matters is that we get this 12 yards, that we get this 15 yards, that we score. So you can take whoever, I like Professor Gway. Take what Gway's saying. And if it doesn't work, use what Rapping is saying. And if it doesn't work, use what Lewis is saying. And when that doesn't work, listen, because the opponents, they're coming. So take what, study, go to school, get your degree. I went and got my degree. I didn't plan on having my own business. I was going to go work for somebody. And then I started seeing what it was like, and I'm like, this is not going to work at all. Me going to work for somebody else, that's not going to work. So I did a quick jump cut and spin move, I reverse field, and I did my own thing. And that's what I want young people to do. I want you to go to school. I want you to get educated. I want you to follow the course that everybody has sort of led you to believe is the correct course. Somewhere on that course, though, you're gonna have to improvise. You're gonna have to come up with your own way. Nobody even knows what the way is now, and that's how I think they're gonna be successful.
Thank you very much. And finally, Coach D, your closing thoughts.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. I want to talk about purpose. Fulfill your purpose. I want everyone to fulfill their purpose. If you don't know your purpose, identify your purpose. Search for your purpose. I like to use the alphabet as an analogy. A is your beginning point. Z is your end point, which is your purpose. When you fulfill your purpose, just make sure B through Y is aligned with Z, period. Make sure your B through Y is aligned with Z, and then you are fulfilling your purpose. Thank you, guys. I enjoyed everybody.
Thank you so much. I'm going to take a few minutes, well, just 2 or 3 minutes to quickly acknowledge my team members who are working behind the scenes and say thank you to all of them. Osa, Ikumbo, and Femi Falowo were behind the media. I have other people doing other stuff. Poluke, Ajayi, Achenyo, and Steve, Ade Omodele, Afra, Bola Adeshuyi, Bemi Bankole, Dr. Ojoke, and Valerie Mills. Thank you, everyone. We couldn't have done this without the contribution of each of these people. And I want to thank the young men, Joshua Elbers and Albert Thompson, for a great job in putting all of these people, like just reaching out, and saying, okay, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? They both have a passion And I would like for you to follow them on social media, Joshua Elbaz, Albert Thompson. These are upcoming young men that we will all like, that I think we should all invest in, because I believe that they have a future. They're a crucial part of this conversation. If you can get many more of them thinking this way, thinking of solutions rather than causing problems, I think this nation and the entire world will be in a better place. Again, I want to really, really appreciate all the panelists. Please, we're going to still be here for like 2 or 3 minutes, so you can drop your information, your books, your resources, your website. And if I get any information from anyone that wants to reach out directly to you, I would ask for your permission to give them your information. But in the meantime, you can put your website, Brothers Making Moves, Gideon's Promise, Age to Age, Anthony Lawrence Lewis PC. Please put your information on the chat and send it to everyone. And then people can take it from there. If they're interested. Again, thank you. It's been a wonderful discussion. I look forward to collaborating with you on many more events, maybe on Zoom or maybe out in the community when coronavirus is out of the way. Thank you and have a great evening. God bless you.